She said she was on a business trip, but her car's GPS led me to the hotel where my marriage ended. My name is Daniel Harker. I'm 39 years old, a project manager at a construction firm in Boston, and until last October, I thought my marriage was the most stable part of my life. My wife, Claire, is 36, a marketing executive who built her career with a ruthless mix of charm and persistence. We'd been together for 12 years, married for 9. We bought our home in Cambridge in 2016, a modest 2-story with a red door and creaky wooden floors that Claire always swore she'd refinish but never did. I handled the bills, the mortgage, the endless small repairs. She filled the place with candles, books, and her collection of framed travel photos. Together, it felt like we'd built something permanent. Our life wasn't flashy, but it was ours. Friday nights meant takeout Thai food and bad Netflix thrillers. Sundays were for brunch at a little diner on Massachusetts Avenue, the kind where the waitress knows your order before you sit down. We had plans, a trip to Italy next spring, maybe a second car, maybe, someday, a child. October 14, 2022. That date is burned into me now. That was the Friday she told me she had to leave for a 2-day business trip to New Haven. Just a quick strategy session with a client, she said, tossing blouses into her suitcase as I leaned against the bedroom doorframe. We'll go over the new campaign and I'll be back Sunday afternoon. You won't even have time to miss me. I smiled, though something in her tone felt rehearsed. Need me to drive you? No, I'll take my car. I might have to stop at the office on the way back. That detail stuck with me. Claire hated long drives, usually begged me to chauffeur her to client meetings. But I brushed it aside. People change habits sometimes. She kissed me quickly before leaving, too quickly. No lingering glance, no playful tease. Just a perfunctory brush of lips and then the sound of her heels down the hallway. I spent that weekend alone, tinkering in the garage, catching up on football. She sent 2 texts, made it safely Friday night, and long day tomorrow, heading to bed early Saturday. No calls. No photos. Unusual, but I didn't want to seem clingy. Sunday, October 16th, 4:12 p.m. That's when my phone buzzed. Traffic's bad. Probably home around 7. I looked at the message twice. Something was off. Claire was precise, always gave details, excuses, extra context. But this was bare, almost rushed. By 6:55, I heard her car pull into the driveway. She came in carrying a shopping bag that she said was just snacks for the drive. Her smile was there, but her eyes seemed guarded. That night, she fell asleep almost instantly. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. That shopping bag burned into my mind. On Monday morning, she rushed out early. Said she had a catch-up call with her team. Her coffee cup sat half full on the counter, unusual for her. It was then that I saw it. Her car keys, left by accident on the kitchen table. Attached to them was the small black GPS fob I'd bought 6 months earlier. A simple gadget connected to an app on my phone, meant to help track the car in case it was stolen. I'd forgotten about it. She had too. Almost without thinking, I opened the app. Her last trip data was still there. Friday, October 14th, 5:43 p.m. She hadn't driven toward New Haven at all. She'd gone north, to Waltham. The GPS trail ended at the parking lot of the Wyndham Hotel. Checked in at 6:12 p.m, checked out Sunday, 11:08 a.m. My heart pounded as if it wanted out of my chest. Not New Haven. Not a client meeting. A weekend in a hotel 30 minutes from our house. I sat there, staring at the map on my phone, the blue dots charting her betrayal. The bag of snacks suddenly made sense. The rushed texts. The too quick kiss. That night, I didn't say a word. I watched her laugh at some sitcom, her hair falling loose around her shoulders, her bare feet curled beneath her on the couch. She looked like the woman I'd loved for more than a decade. But now I knew there was another version of her, one who had lied, driven north, and spent 2 nights in a hotel with someone else. I went to bed with a knot in my chest so tight I could hardly breathe. On Tuesday, October 18th, I left work early. My hands shook as I drove to Waltham. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The Wyndham Hotel loomed in front of me, its glass doors reflecting the autumn sunlight. I parked across the street and just stared. Did she walk in laughing? Did she check in under her name? Did the clerk smile, oblivious to the destruction being seated inside those walls? I stepped inside. The lobby smelled faintly of citrus and furniture polish. My eyes swept across the front desk, the leather chairs, the generic artwork. Nothing about the place should have mattered. But to me, it was sacred ground desecrated. I asked the clerk for a receipt. Lied that I'd misplaced one. He apologized, said he couldn't release guest information without ID. My cheeks burned as I muttered thanks and left. But I didn't need the receipt. The GPS had told me enough. When I returned home, Claire was in the kitchen making pasta, humming softly. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Long day?" she asked. "The longest," I replied. My voice was steady, but my hands clenched so tight my nails bit into my palms. I wanted to scream. To slam my phone on the table and shove the GPS map in her face. But something inside me whispered, "Wait. Watch. Gather proof." Because the worst kind of betrayal isn't just an act, it's a pattern. And I had a feeling this wasn't her first lie. That night, as she showered, I opened her purse. Inside, tucked into the side pocket, I found a receipt dated October 15th, room service. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. Total, $67. 48, my knees nearly buckled as I held the slip of paper. 2 people. 2 nights. 1 secret. The pasta she had cooked earlier sat untouched on the counter as I slid the receipt back into her purse and closed it gently. I went to bed beside her that night, my heart a battlefield of rage and sorrow, my arm inches from hers but separated by a canyon I couldn't cross. And I knew, whatever mask she was wearing, however sweet her smile or soft her voice, the truth would come out. And when it did, our lives would never be the same. I didn't sleep much after finding that receipt. The clock glowed 2:47 a.m. while Claire's soft breathing filled the bedroom. I stared at the ceiling, my mind replaying the image of 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, $67.48. Numbers had always been my comfort, predictable, logical. But now numbers felt like knives. By morning, I had made a decision, I wouldn't accuse her yet. Not without more. If I confronted her too soon, she'd lie, twist the truth, maybe even turn it back on me. I needed undeniable proof. October 19th, Wednesday. Claire left for work at 8:05 a.m. Sharp, heels clicking down the sidewalk. I waited 10 minutes, then opened her laptop. The password was the same as always, our anniversary date, July 14th. My stomach twisted as the screen unlocked. Emails. Dozens of them. Most were ordinary, campaign updates, client calls, performance reports. But one thread stood out. The subject line read, "Dinner Friday." The sender's name, Nathan Cole. I clicked. My pulse roared in my ears as the messages unfolded. October 10th, can't wait for the weekend. I'll book the room. October 12th, pack light. 2 nights, no distractions. October 13th, don't forget to delete this. Her reply, October 13th, 11:47 p.m. I'll be there. Same place as before. Same place as before. I closed the laptop with shaking hands. The walls of our kitchen seemed to tilt. Not only had she lied, she had done this before. The Wyndham wasn't a one-time slip. It was a rendezvous point. Nathan Cole. The name pulsed in my mind like a siren. I googled him. He wasn't hard to find: LinkedIn, company bio, even a few photos. He worked for a tech firm downtown, mid-30s, tall, broad-shouldered. In one picture, he was smiling at a conference panel, a microphone in hand. He looked confident, charming. The kind of man who could walk into a room and own it. Was this the man she chose over me? That evening, Claire came home late, around 7:40. She claimed she'd stayed late at the office preparing a presentation. Her perfume lingered in the air, stronger than usual. She dropped her bag by the door and kissed me lightly, too lightly, before heading straight to the shower. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the faint grease stain on the receipt I'd found days before. Every second felt like an act in a play where I already knew the ending. On October 21st, Friday, I took a risk. I left work early, claiming a dentist appointment, and parked near her office. At 5:12 p.m. I watched her step out, her hair neatly pinned, her heels clicking against the pavement. She wasn't heading toward her car. She was walking 2 blocks down, toward a wine bar called the Velvet Fox. At 5:19, Nathan arrived. I recognized him instantly from the photos. Tall, well-dressed, carrying himself with easy confidence. He kissed her cheek as if they'd done it 100 times. She laughed, touched his arm, and they walked inside together. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I could have stormed in, demanded answers right then. But something inside me held me back. Not yet. Not here. I wanted the truth laid bare where no one could deny it. Instead, I followed them from a distance when they left the bar at 6:42. They walked to a parking garage. Nathan opened his car door for her, a black BMW 5 Series, license plate 7NH 942. I burned the details into my memory. They drove off, and I tailed them, my heart hammering in my chest. 20 minutes later, they pulled into the Wyndham Hotel. Same as before. I didn't follow them inside. I couldn't. I parked across the street and sat there in silence, the neon glow of the hotel sign blurring through tears I hadn't realized were falling. 2 hours passed. 3. At 10:57, I saw them through the lobby window. Hand in hand. Smiling. Carefree. That image seared itself into me. I drove home on autopilot, my hands numb on the steering wheel. The house felt alien when I entered, every photo on the wall a lie, every candle she'd chosen a mockery. At 12:14 a.m. Claire walked in. She smelled faintly of wine, her lipstick smudged. "You're still up?" she asked, her voice light. I forced a smile. "Yeah. Just couldn't sleep." She kissed my forehead and slipped into the bedroom. Minutes later, I heard the soft rhythm of her breathing as she slept. I sat in the dark living room until dawn, staring at nothing. October 22nd. Saturday. My phone buzzed with a notification, GPS history update. Nathan's BMW had left the Wyndham at 7:32 a.m., heading south. Claire's car showed movement at 7:46, returning home. They hadn't even tried to stagger their exits convincingly. I felt a strange clarity then. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. The evidence was everywhere, in her laptop, in her purse, in the GPS trail, in the careless way she returned home smelling of another man's cologne. Now came the hardest part, deciding when and how to confront her. I wanted it to be somewhere she couldn't twist the truth. Somewhere her lies would collapse under the weight of reality. The thought terrified me. But it also gave me strength. Because if my marriage was going to die, it deserved a funeral, not a slow suffocation. October 23rd, Sunday. I woke with a plan. I had spent the entire night replaying every detail, every receipt, every GPS ping. The evidence wasn't just in my head anymore, it was on paper, on screens, in places I could point to and say, "Here. This is where you killed us." But I didn't want shouting matches or excuses in our kitchen. I didn't want her crocodile tears soaking into the pillows of our bed. I wanted the truth spoken in a place where lies had nowhere to hide. So I decided, would confront her at the Wyndham itself. That morning, I told Claire I had to go into the office for a few hours. She nodded absently, scrolling on her phone, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. I kissed her cheek before leaving, and the act nearly broke me. Her skin felt cold, foreign. At 5:30 p.m. I parked across the street from the Wyndham. My chest was tight, my throat dry. I had called ahead earlier, pretending to be a guest, asking if Mr. Cole had a reservation that evening. The clerk, careless, had confirmed it. Room 417. At 6:14, Claire's car pulled into the lot. I watched her step out, her hair loose, a navy dress clinging to her body. She looked beautiful. Beautiful and lethal. Nathan arrived minutes later, that same black BMW sliding into a spot 2 rows down. He wore a blazer, casual but deliberate. They didn't kiss in the parking lot, but their bodies leaned toward each other naturally, instinctively, as if magnetized. I waited until they disappeared inside before crossing the street. My legs trembled as I entered the lobby, the same citrus scent hitting me like a wave. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt endless. Each ding echoed in my skull. Finally, I stood before room 417, my heart hammering so loudly I was sure they could hear it through the door. I knocked. Silence at first. Then shuffling. A muffled laugh cut short. The door opened. Claire. Her face drained of color the instant she saw me. Daniel. Invite me in, I said quietly. My voice was low, steady, but inside, I was fire. She stammered. This isn't. Now, Claire. She stepped aside, her body trembling. I walked in. Nathan stood by the bed, his jacket off, his expression caught between guilt and arrogance. He looked at me as though sizing me up, then extended a hand as if this were some polite misunderstanding. Daniel, right? I think. Shut up, I said, my voice sharp. The room smelled of perfume and wine. On the nightstand sat 2 glasses, lipstick smudged on one. The bedspread was rumpled, their clothes scattered. It was all the proof I would ever need. I turned to Claire. How long? Her lips trembled. Please, can we? How long? Tears welled in her eyes. Since June. June. 4 months. 4 months of lies, of fake smiles, of pretending our life was intact. I laughed bitterly. While we planned Italy. While we refinanced the house. While you kissed me goodnight. Daniel. I held up a hand, cutting her off. No. You don't get to Daniel me anymore. Nathan shifted, his voice calm, almost smug. Look, man, I didn't mean for this to. I snapped my head toward him, fury blazing. You don't get to speak. Not in my marriage. Not in my life. He raised his hands, silent. Claire sobbed quietly, her hands twisting. I never meant to hurt you. You booked hotel rooms, Claire. You lied about New Haven. You sat across from me, laughing, while you were planning weekends with him. Don't you dare say you didn't mean to hurt me. Her sob broke into a wail. She fell to her knees, clutching the edge of the bed. I'm so sorry. Please, I don't want to lose you. The sight should have moved me. But I felt nothing. Or rather, everything, all at once, rage, grief, betrayal, numbness. It was too much to process. I stepped back toward the door. You already lost me. Daniel, please. I turned once more, my eyes locking with hers. Our wedding vows were supposed to be in front of God, family, everyone we love. But you already broke them, months before you ever spoke them. So tell me, Claire, what's left to save? Her sobs filled the room. Nathan looked away, shame written on his face. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and didn't look back. I drove until the city lights disappeared, until the highway stretched empty and dark. At 9:42 p.m. I pulled into a rest stop, sat in my car, and let the tears come. Everything we'd built, 12 years, 9 of them married, was ashes now. The ocean of lies had swallowed me whole, and I wasn't sure I wanted to resurface. But one thought kept me anchored, even in the storm. I knew the truth. And she couldn't take that from me. October 24th, 2022. The day after the hotel. I woke up on Daniel Foster's couch, a blanket pulled over me, my head pounding from lack of sleep. Daniel had been my best friend since high school. I called him after leaving the Wyndham, my voice shaking, and he told me to come over. I hadn't said much, just that Claire was gone from me, and he didn't ask for details. He simply handed me a beer, then left me alone with my thoughts. But silence is cruel when you've lost everything. By morning, I knew I had to take the next step. At 10:03 a.m. I called Claire's father, Richard. He picked up on the second ring. His voice was gruff, like he already knew. Daniel? Yes. My throat tightened. The wedding's off. A long pause. Then a weary sigh. I feared as much. She told me you two were fighting. She didn't say why. I swallowed hard. She cheated, Richard. 4 months. With a man named Nathan Cole. At the Wyndham in Waltham. The silence on the line was deafening. Finally, his voice cracked. Jesus Christ. My daughter. I'm sorry, I said, though I wasn't sure who I was apologizing to, him, myself, or the man I used to be before all this. When I hung up, my phone lit up with messages, Claire's bridesmaids, my mother, even co-workers who had caught wind. I ignored them all. At 2:15 p.m. Claire showed up at Daniel's apartment. I heard the knock, heavy and desperate. I didn't want to open it, but Daniel said quietly, "You should." She stood there in the hallway, her eyes red, mascara smeared, her hands trembling. She held a stack of papers, our marriage certificate, the guest list, the seating chart. "Daniel, please," she whispered. "Don't do this. Don't throw us away." I stared at her, feeling the weight of every lie between us. "You threw us away in June." She stepped closer, her voice breaking. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't mean to fall for him." The admission hit like a hammer. Fall for him? Her eyes widened, realizing what she'd said. I didn't, I mean. I shook my head slowly. So it wasn't just sex. It wasn't just weekends in a hotel. You loved him. Tears streamed down her face. No. I love you. I swear I love you. I turned away, my chest hollow. Love doesn't look like what you did. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back. Claire, you lied about business trips. You laughed with him in bars while I was home fixing the leaky faucet. You planned Italy with me while booking hotel rooms with him. Do you have any idea what that does to a man? Her sobs filled the hallway. Please, give me a chance to fix it. I met her eyes one last time. You can't fix something you burned to the ground. And with that, I closed the door. The week that followed was chaos. The wedding, set for November 5th, collapsed overnight. Deposits were lost, $6,000 for the lodge, $2,800 for catering, $1,200 for the florist. My parents insisted on covering half, but the numbers didn't sting as much as the whispers. At work, colleagues pulled me aside with pity in their eyes. In the grocery store, neighbors avoided my gaze. Betrayal spreads fast, like smoke from a fire everyone pretends not to see. On October 30th, I filed for separation. Claire's signature came 2 days later, her handwriting shaky, as if the pen itself had betrayed her. Nathan Cole vanished from her life soon after. Whether he chose to or she drove him away, I didn't care. The damage was done. November bled into December. I moved into a small apartment overlooking the Charles River. The rent was high, $2.50 a month, but the view of the water gave me a strange comfort. At night, I'd sit by the window, listening to the waves lapping against the banks, their rhythm reminding me that life goes on, even when yours feels like it ended. One evening, my mother visited. She set a casserole on the counter, sat across from me, and said softly, "You'll love again, Danny." I stared at my hands. "I don't want to." She reached across, her fingers warm on mine. "You will. Not today, not tomorrow. But one day, you'll walk past that gray nursery you painted in your old house, and it won't hurt anymore. It'll feel like a room waiting for someone new." Her words broke something in me. For the first time since the hotel, I cried openly, not from rage, but from release. Christmas came. I spent it at my parents' house, the tree glowing, laughter echoing, but a piece of me always drifting. Claire didn't call. Didn't text. The silence between us had become permanent. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she regrets it. If she lies awake wishing she'd never driven to Waltham, never stepped into room 417. But her regret doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I survived it. I carry the scar of betrayal, yes. But scars mean we lived through the wound. Now, when I stand by the river and hear the water's endless rhythm, I remind myself, the tide goes out, the tide comes in. Lives fall apart, and lives rebuild. Claire's chapter in my story is over. And though the waves still carry the sound of her name, I know one day, the ocean will wash it clean.